It's 2024. The world is holding its breath. Climate change is causing terrible floods in Southeast Asia and scorching droughts in Africa. The global economy is shaky, still recovering from the pandemic and dealing with a new energy crisis. On top of that, countries are tense with each other and it feels like a big fight could start any minute. From the South China Sea to Europe, the old way of doing things is falling apart. Countries don't trust each other, and the possibility of war is very real. It's a world on edge waiting for the next disaster. But one question is on everyone's mind, from leaders to everyday people. What is Russia planning? After what happened in 2022, the world isn't fooled by Russia anymore. For many years, Europe has been wary of Russia. Maybe it's leftover worry from the Cold War, or maybe it's a healthy respect for a country that has used force to get what it wants. But after Russia went into Ukraine, the question became more urgent. Is Russia a real threat to Europe's safety, or is it just talk? The answer is complicated. Russia may not be as powerful as it used to be, but it still has a strong military and can use its power in nearby countries. It also uses tricky tactics like cyber attacks, spreading false information, and economic pressure to cause trouble for its enemies and the West. So, even though it might be easy to think Russia isn't a big deal anymore, that would be a dangerous mistake. Europe needs to be very careful when dealing with Russia. Russia may not be the military giant it was during the Cold War, but it's still dangerous. Years of improvements in spending have given Russia a lot of weapons, including many nuclear weapons. Russia's regular army, although smaller than before, can still fight in nearby countries, like we saw in Ukraine. The Russian military is also good at using new technology and tactics. Its mix of regular and sneaky warfare has been very effective. And because Russia keeps investing in advanced weapons like super-fast missiles and cyber warfare, it will likely become even more dangerous in the future. This doesn't mean Russia's military is perfect. There's a lot of corruption, and its equipment, while improved, often has problems. Also, because it relies on drafted soldiers instead of a fully professional army, it might not be able to fight a long war effectively. Faced with this renewed threat from Russia, Europe's own defenses seem weak and disorganized. The continent, once a bastion of military might, now finds itself grappling with outdated equipment and insufficient training. The sight of European soldiers in training, using equipment that has seen better days, is a stark reminder of the challenges ahead. The urgency to modernize and strengthen these forces has never been more critical, yet the path to achieving this remains fraught with obstacles. NATO is still important for European safety, but it has problems. The alliance, which has been the cornerstone of European defense for decades, is now facing internal divisions and external pressures. Meetings at NATO headquarters often reveal the cracks in unity, with defense ministers struggling to find common ground. The discussions are intense, but the outcomes are often inconclusive, leaving many to wonder about the future effectiveness of this once formidable alliance. When the United States left Afghanistan in 2021, people questioned if America would still protect its European allies. The chaotic scenes of U.S. troops boarding planes and the frantic evacuation at Kabul airport sent shockwaves through the international community. This event not only raised doubts about America's commitment to its allies, but also highlighted the vulnerabilities within NATO. The withdrawal served as a wake-up call, prompting European nations to reconsider their reliance on the U.S. for security. The ongoing tension with Turkey, an important NATO member, makes things even more complicated. Turkey's strategic position and military capabilities are crucial for the alliance, yet its actions often clash with the interests of other member states. Protests in Turkey and disagreements at NATO summits underscore the friction within the alliance. These internal conflicts weaken NATO's ability to present a united front against external threats, further complicating the security landscape in Europe. Outside of NATO, European countries haven't been able to create a strong shared defense plan. Efforts to establish a cohesive European defense strategy have been hampered by differing national interests and priorities. Meetings within the European Union often end without significant progress, and military bases across the continent remain underutilized. The lack of a unified approach leaves Europe vulnerable and unable to respond effectively to emerging threats. Years of not spending enough on defense means many European militaries aren't ready for a big fight. The sight of abandoned military bases and outdated technology is a testament to the years of neglect. European nations have prioritized other areas of spending, leaving their defense capabilities to deteriorate. This underinvestment has resulted in a military force that is ill-prepared to face modern challenges, making the need for increased defense spending more urgent than ever. There have been some efforts to increase defense spending and work together, but it's been slow. Defense ministers meet regularly to discuss budget allocations and joint exercises, but progress is often hindered by bureaucratic red tape and political disagreements. While there are signs of improvement, the pace of change is not fast enough to address the immediate threats. The need for a more agile and responsive defense strategy is clear, yet achieving this remains a significant challenge. The biggest problem for European defense isn't a lack of weapons, but a lack of wanting to work together. Disagreements among European leaders and conflicts within NATO highlight the difficulties in achieving unity. The reluctance to collaborate on defense matters stems from deep-seated political and historical differences. This lack of cohesion undermines the overall effectiveness of European defense efforts, making it difficult to present a united front against common threats. The memory of World War II, which used to encourage European countries to work together on defense, is fading. The shared history of overcoming a common enemy once served as a powerful motivator for cooperation. Memorials and historical footage remind us of the sacrifices made, but the passage of time has dulled the sense of urgency. As the generation that experienced the war firsthand dwindles, so too does the collective memory that once united Europe in its defense efforts. Instead, we see more nationalism and less willingness to help each other for defense. Nationalist rallies and political protests reflect a growing trend of prioritizing national interests over collective security. European leaders in their speeches often emphasize sovereignty and self-reliance, further driving a wedge between nations. This shift towards nationalism poses a significant challenge to the idea of a unified European defense, making it harder to address the complex security issues facing the continent today. Section 5. Hidden Warfare, Cyber Attacks, and Disinformation. In today's interconnected world, the battlefield has expanded beyond the physical realm. While traditional warfare still captures headlines, a more insidious and often invisible conflict is taking place in the digital domain. While the world watches for troop movements and missile tests, a different kind of fight is already happening: cyber warfare and the spread of false information. This new form of warfare doesn't require soldiers on the ground or missiles in the air. Instead, it involves hackers and propagandists working behind computer screens, launching attacks that can cripple infrastructure, steal sensitive information, and manipulate public opinion. Russia is very good at these sneaky tactics, and has used them to cause trouble, weaken democracies, and influence elections in the West. Their cyber operations are sophisticated and often difficult to detect, making them a formidable adversary in the digital age. These operations are not just about stealing data, they are about creating chaos and uncertainty. From hacking the German parliament in 2015, where sensitive information was stolen and political processes were disrupted, to more recent attacks on critical infrastructure, Russia's cyber capabilities have proven to be both extensive and effective. To possibly interfering with the 2016 US presidential election, where allegations of hacking and disinformation campaigns raised questions about the integrity of the electoral process. These actions have sown distrust and division, undermining the very foundations of democratic societies. Russia has shown it will use cyber attacks to get what it wants politically. These attacks are not just about immediate gains, they are part of a long-term strategy to weaken opponents and shift the balance of power. By targeting political institutions, economic systems, and even social structures, these cyber attacks aim to create a climate of fear and uncertainty. These attacks are hard to trace and even harder to stop, and they are a big threat to democratic countries. The anonymity of the internet allows attackers to hide their tracks, making it difficult for authorities to identify and respond to threats in real time. This creates a constant game of cat and mouse where defenders must always be on high alert. They make people distrust institutions and weaken societies. When citizens lose faith in their government, the media, and other key institutions, the social fabric begins to unravel. This can lead to increased polarization, social unrest, and even violence, as people become more susceptible to extremist ideologies and conspiracy theories. Just as dangerous are Russia's disinformation campaigns, which are designed to spread confusion and mistrust. These campaigns use social media platforms to amplify false narratives, making it difficult for people to discern fact from fiction, which spread propaganda and fake news through social media. by creating and disseminating misleading content. These campaigns aim to influence public opinion and destabilize societies from within. The rapid spread of information online means that false stories can go viral before they are debunked, causing lasting damage. These campaigns often look like real news, making it even harder for the average person to distinguish between credible sources and fake ones. This blurring of lines between truth and falsehood is a key tactic in the disinformation playbook, and they try to trick the public, cause arguments, and make people distrust real news sources. By sowing discord and confusion, these efforts aim to weaken the social cohesion that is essential for a functioning democracy. In this hidden warfare, the battle for hearts and minds is just as important as any physical confrontation. Section 6. David versus Goliath, a strategic assessment. On paper, comparing Russia and Europe's militaries looks like a fight between David and Goliath. Russia, with its vast landmass and historical military prowess, often appears as the formidable giant. Europe, fragmented into various nations, might seem like the underdog. However, this comparison is more nuanced than it first appears. Europe, even without the USA and Turkey, has a much bigger economy and more people than Russia. The combined GDP of European nations far surpasses that of Russia, providing them with significant financial resources. Additionally, Europe's population density means a larger pool of potential recruits for their armed forces. NATO, even with its problems, is still a powerful military alliance with advanced weapons and a long history of working together. The alliance's collective defense mechanism ensures that an attack on one member is considered an attack on all, providing a robust deterrent against potential aggressors. NATO's technological edge, with cutting-edge weaponry and sophisticated defense systems, further strengthens its position. But just counting weapons and soldiers doesn't tell the whole story. Military strength isn't solely about numbers. It's also about strategy, training, and the ability to adapt to changing circumstances. The effectiveness of a military force is determined by its operational readiness, logistical support, and the morale of its troops. Russia has shown it's willing to use its military aggressively, while Europe has often been hesitant to take strong action. This aggressive stance is evident in Russia's recent military interventions and its willingness to project power beyond its borders. In contrast, European nations often prioritize diplomatic solutions and are more cautious in their military engagements. Also, Russia's skill at hybrid warfare, especially cyber attacks and disinformation, gives it a big advantage. These tactics allow Russia to destabilize opponents without direct military confrontation, creating confusion and undermining trust in institutions. Cyber attacks can cripple critical infrastructure, while disinformation campaigns can influence public opinion and sow discord. The biggest difference might be what they want to achieve. Russia's strategic goals often involve expanding its influence and securing its borders, sometimes at the expense of international norms. Europe's goals, on the other hand, are more focused on maintaining stability and promoting democratic values. Russia, under Vladimir Putin, has shown it's willing to use force to get what it wants, even if other countries don't like it. Putin's leadership style is assertive, often prioritizing national strength and sovereignty over diplomatic relations. This approach has led to several high-profile conflicts and a strained relationship with the West. Europe, on the other hand, has mostly tried to prevent attacks and contain Russia, hoping to avoid a direct fight. European nations often engage in diplomatic negotiations, economic sanctions, and peacekeeping missions to address conflicts. Their approach is more about building alliances and fostering cooperation to ensure long-term peace and security. Section 7. The danger of doing nothing. A call to action. The year 2024 is a crucial moment for Europe. The world is a dangerous place, and the threat from Russia, while not immediate, is real and growing. Ignoring this threat would be a huge mistake with terrible consequences for Europe's safety and stability. It's time to stop talking and take action. Europe must face the situation and take real steps to strengthen its defenses, push back against Russian aggression, and protect its interests. This means spending more on defense, making NATO stronger, and creating a better, shared defense plan. It also means preparing for attacks, improving our ability to withstand cyber attacks, fight disinformation, and protect important systems. It means standing up for our values, defending democracy and the rule of law, and supporting our friends and allies around the world. Section 8. What's next? A conversation starter. The future of Europe's safety is uncertain. The choices we make today will affect future generations. The threat from Russia is real, but we can overcome it. By working together, acting decisively, and understanding the challenges we face, Europe can get through these difficult times and create a better future for everyone. What do you think? Is Europe doing enough to counter the threat from Russia? Share your thoughts and join the conversation. The future of Europe depends on it.